Good morning. My name is Samira Harnish. I'm the president and founder of Women of the World, a Salt Lake City-based nonprofit focused on supporting refugee women to achieve their dreams. My speech entitled Voice of Hope, Women Refugees in Utah. Now let me introduce you to some of the courageous women that are your neighbors, classmates, and hopefully soon, friends. This picture was taken at Women of the World's second annual fashion show, which I introduced with the following words. As you applaud each of them as they walk the catwalk, think about the steps they took before the ones you are seeing. Running away from violence and oppression, scared, hoping just for a safe night's sleep. Think about what they left behind them, their comfortable job, house, and much of their family, even sometimes their own sons and daughters. Their beauty comes not only from their features or clothing, but from an amazing courage to find a better life. Sarah is from Darfur, the most infamous of the current atrocities in Africa. Whatever the place name means to you or George Clooney, to Sarah, not her real name, it means home and hardship at once. Culture and crime, camps and escape. She and all of the refugee women I will introduce you to go through 3 distinct territories for where they are now. War at home, internally displaced person or refugees in refugee camps, and poverty in Utah. Here I'll introduce you to another courageous refugee, Valerie, seated in the picture. She escaped war in Iraq with only half of her family, her brother in the foreground and her mother in the background. The split in her family is more tragic since Valerie has a heart defect, a condition her doctors think may kill her before her father arrives from Iraq. As an Iraqi American myself, the stories of my Arab brothers and sisters break my heart. As an immigrant, not a refugee, I know what it is to struggle in America. But I come from an Iraq more secular, more the cradle of the civilization, and much different from the destroyed one of today. My pride in my people, my success as an American semiconductor engineer, and mostly my identification with the struggles of foreign-born women caused me to start Women of the World. I'm living my dream. I'm using all my skills. I work until late every night on emails and Facebook. I have made many mistakes in the startup of the business of nonprofits, but led with my heart and hope to help the women refugees that I nurturingly call my ladies as they transition into your neighborhoods. So now you met some of the women. Let me briefly take you through some of the territories that will set the scene. They can be broken down into 3 major components. First, their native home, torn by war and genocide. Second, refugee camps and temporary staging communities nearby. Third, Salt Lake City, their permanent resident given the magnitude of destruction to their native home, and for most, their desire to stay in the United States. Put yourself in these shoes. Apply this definition to yourself for a minute. A woman without country, a young girl who walked miles of desert with just a backpack, a last act of desperation, camping for years, even decades, fighting for food, then plopped into a country where there is snow and the bachelorettes, where you don't speak the language and are poorer than everyone with no way to get money. Bertrand Russell said the war does not determine who is right, only who is left. These are the numbers of refugees left from the conflict, genocide, and unrest that have generated the most. Who here saw Half the Sky or read the book by Nicholas Kristof? In it, he details the horror that war especially brings to women. Women raped to shame their family, to breed out the other side genes, to damage the morale of the other side. Whatever the reason, women and girls are the victim of war, even though they have never picked up a gun. Here in Utah, men, women, and children, refugees, have lived through the horrors on this slide. Besides not knowing that our neighbors have faced some of the most brutal men the world has ever known, we don't realize that for the Korean people of Burma, this brutality has gone on for generations. Grandmother, mother, and daughter all having faced a life of war. For those refugees fortunate to escape with their lives, refugee camps are the next territory they face. This slide details the size of some of the largest that have the longest duration, and those stayed in by your neighbors here in Utah. The numbers speak for themselves. Imagine yourself in these conditions. It's nearly impossible to stretch your mind to find comparable suffering. Now imagine trying to give a birth and raise a child in these conditions. Some of your classmates were born in a refugee camp, lived their childhood inside barbed wire meant to keep them out of their host country. They watched their grandparents die early death and had no privacy. Crime and corruption were everywhere and especially targeted women. Here's a family that made it. Their courage is undeniable, but now in Salt Lake City, they require a different kind of bravery. They must relearn everything: language, customs, job skills. They don't have any friends, fear being sent back home, and don't know who to trust. What will make Utah home for these women? At first, help with their struggles. Later, to be leaders in their communities, and always for you to befriend them. The struggles of refugee women are different from their men. They face the traditional requirements of women: homemaking, childcare, and emotionally enabling their men, but soon realize their families need them to work, to gain skills, and to get over their sadness of what they lost, what suffering was forced on them, and help get out of poverty. Refugees live in poverty. Federal money is temporary and confusing to get. Skills for good job are hard for most refugees. Some women that had no education in their countries or in the camps have no understanding of what these skills are. Most refugees don't speak English yet. Refugees get taken advantage of, scared to speak up, thinking they can go back to the camp, not understanding their right as humans. One such case of this is in the picture at the top right, One of the Women of the World volunteer went into this apartment on a routine check and found the refugee family sleeping on moldy mattresses with mold growing on all the walls. She could not stay in the room for a second. The family had been sleeping in one bed in this room for months. The landlord, when I confronted her, said, "This is from their cooking. These people like it this way." One of the benefits that refugees receive in Utah is health care and dental care for a very short period of time. In mental health sessions, the refugees are replayed through interpreters. The healing is started with tears. Wounds are bandaged in hospitals, and mouths that have never seen a toothbrush are tended to. More help is needed. Women interpreters are in short supply, so feminine health is avoided. In my research, English is always cited as the gateway to refugee quality of life improvement. Women of the World has worked with BYU Professor John Dixon and our own professional staff in English education to develop classroom of community where communication is taught, not grammar and rules. Our neighbors need your help here most of all. Even if you do not have time to tutor someone, be a friend to a refugee. Talk to them slowly in English. See that they respond. Then help to correct their mistakes gently. They need to speak in English. They literally cannot live without it. Everyone in a refugee family is taking classes. Mothers lost the ability to parent if their children share a secret language from the English classes in school. So we help them to learn, to regain their voice in the family and the community. Families are taught about America, about their rights, about gang and domestic violence. War doesn't just affect the illiterate poor, but also professionals, doctors, dentists, and engineers. Yet these individuals cannot just start a job in the United States. Often the certification requirement have them to starting over, a tax many are unwilling to take. After the credit collapse and recession, even the lowest skill level jobs were hard to find. Refugees who want to work, to contribute and get their share of American dream are often confronted with a job market that is empty even to their newly learned skills. Women that look like the ones in these pictures face poverty and hardship in straightening out their international paperwork and becoming citizens. For those of you that have not had to deal with the frontline immigration officials of the United States, consider yourself lucky. More than any other government office, refugees fear immigration, worried that some paperwork was misplaced and that their family will be split. As I have stated before, mothers face a challenge in parenting their children when they don't understand what they are saying to their friends, don't understand the cultural references their kids are making. Tragically, refugee mothers in Salt Lake City have seen their children taken to a prison and murdered because of the gang that tap into their anger and youth. The American soil does not eliminate the role of women in traditional families. In fact, with work requirements and added freedom for women, it can add complexity to strained relationships and lead to physical, mental, and sexual violence. Refugee women that are abused often have no family to turn to and fear talking to counselors, since their cultures see deep shame in taking these domestic issues outside the home. There are better days ahead for our refugee neighbors. Utah is a great place to live, and for the most part, my ladies love it here. They are resilient, learn fast, want the best for their kids, and I am happy to say are succeeding in moving ahead one step at a time. Women of the World's mission supporting refugee women of all nations to achieve their dreams is not hyperbole, it is possible. Our refugee neighbors can accomplish great things because of who they are and what they have been through. The key to their success will be not from balancing two cultures, but by blending the best of both. I have my contact information as the last slide for anyone interested in supporting the programs that Women of the World is currently running in English education, job skills development, and frontline service. But most of all, I encourage all of you to be a friend to the refugee women. My youngest daughter went around the world to help children in Senegal, but she didn't need to. There are people right here in Salt Lake City happy to share their experience. Mothers that will fill your stomachs and hearts with their generosity, and children that will enrich your life, and they need your help. I would like to thank you for your attention and to thank BYU for opportunities to come here and share some of the stories of your refugee neighbors and the territories they came through to get here. I'd like to leave you with the lesson from the story The Good Samaritan. The ideal of this story is common to many religions. A lesson that service to the displaced, the poor, and the suffering is the finest calling of all of us. Answer this call. Help humans until it hurts. Then help some more. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for rewards. Believe me, just serving others is a reward enough. Thank you.